You might have missed this headline, but it's big. The United States has just suspended all visa services to Burkina Faso. Why? Because this small African nation said no to a deportation deal pushed by Washington. And now the stakes are higher than ever. It really is not a simple travel story. This isn't just about visas. This is about power, sovereignty, and Africa's dignity on the world stage. Burkina Faso is challenging a system where foreign aid, visas, and policy are used as tools to control African nations. This is a moment that could redefine how Africa negotiates its dignity on the global stage. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Christy Agawu, and this is where we unpack the real power politics behind aid, foreign policy, and Africa's place in the global order. People, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Only about 1 in 5 of you have it on, which means most people never even see the breakdowns that we drop. So hit that bell, not just to support the channel, but to stay in the loop on Africa's unfolding story from a lens that's ours. Now, let's get back to the standoff between Burkina Faso and Washington, a moment that's about more than visas. It's about sovereignty, leverage, and the courage to say no. For months, it was noted that immigration, aid, and foreign policy are being weaponized against African nations. Now, it's out in the open. Because what's really at stake here isn't paperwork or visas, it's power. It's about who gets to decide Africa's place in the world and in what way. And one small landlocked African country under sanctions and military rule stand up to Washington and still keep its dignity. Here's what happened. A few weeks ago, the United States quietly reached out to Burkina Faso with what it called a migration arrangement. Translation of that is, we are deporting people from America, not just your citizens, but others too, and we would like you to take them. Burkina Faso said, absolutely not. The foreign minister, Karamoko Jean-Marie Traoré, was probably livid. He used strong diplomatic language and called the proposal indecent and unworthy, adding, Burkina Faso is not a land of deportation. Hours later, the U.S. shut down the visa services in the country. No press release, no statement, just quiet retaliation. This isn't new. It's part of a U.S. strategy called third country deportation. The Trump administration's been making deals left and right to send people somewhere, anywhere really. 5 guys from Vietnam, Jamaica, Cuba, Yemen, and Laos. They ended up in Eswatini. And it's not like they're there on vacation. They're reportedly locked up in solitary confinement with no clear end date. Then there's South Sudan. 8 other people got flown there after spending weeks detained in U.S. military base in Djibouti. Rwanda signed on to take up to 250 people. And Ghana, they received 14 West African nationals and played smart about it. And here's what really makes you wonder, why are these countries doing Trump's bidding in the first place? Direct payments, development aid, incentives. Something's happening behind closed doors and no one's talking about it. Ghana denied getting money, but Rwanda, Eswatini, South Sudan, radio silence on the actual terms. Why wouldn't they come out clean about what they're getting out of this? Are they embarrassed? Is there pressure we don't know about? That kind of opacity, that's the real story. Now, contrast that with Nigeria. The U.S. came to them with the same pitch, take our deportees. Nigeria's foreign minister looked at the proposal and said, absolutely not. Nigeria wouldn't be a dumping ground. Full stop, no deal. And guess what? Nigeria's visa restrictions still in place. Here's the thing about Ghana, though. They pointed out that West African nations don't need visas to enter Ghana anyway under the ECOWAS rules. Fair enough. So it made sense for them to receive their neighbors. They basically said, these are our people, so yeah, we'll take them. Clever move, right? And then, surprise, surprise, in late September, the U.S. suddenly restored Ghana's 5-year multiple entry visas. Those same visas had been restricted back in June. Magically back. Coincidence? Come on. So back to Burkina Faso, they looked at this whole thing and said, no, not happening. And they didn't mince words either. They called it unworthy and indecent. No sugarcoating, no polite diplomacy, just a straight up rejection. That's the kind of stance that matters. So when Burkina Faso said no, it broke the script. That was not the expectation. They are not supposed to say that. Because for decades, African nations have been told, don't upset Washington, don't question the donors, don't risk your visas. At this time, a small nation said, we will not be used. Meantime, Burkina Faso's borders are open to all Africans, no visa, no restrictions, no barriers. That's not just policy, that's Pan-Africanism in real time. Here's the irony, though. While Washington punishes Africa with visa bans, it's also desperate for Africa's resources: cobalt, lithium, rare earths, the minerals that power America's batteries and defense systems. Africa holds the leverage, but for too long, Africa has negotiated like they are the ones asking for permission. Imagine this. If they stood together, they could say, you want our minerals? Fine, but you don't get to deport us. You don't get to dictate to us. Now that's real power, not begging for aid, but defining the terms of partnership. Imagine if Africa responded with one voice. If instead of 5 countries cutting secret deals, all 54 nations say, or 55 depending on how you count them, say, no, these are our terms. Because as long as Africa negotiates in fragments, they lose in full. The West offers aid to one, sanctions to another, and praise to a few, and Africa falls for it every single time. Burkina Faso might be small, but it just exposed that system. And the question is, who's next to say no? Will it be Niger and Mali, Burkina Faso Sahel allies who've already told France to pack up and leave? What about South Africa with its history of standing up to Western pressure? Or Senegal, which just elected new leadership? Who else will look Washington in the eye, eyeball to eyeball, and say, you don't get to tell us what to do. You are not the boss of me. You see, people, power doesn't start when others recognize it. Power starts when you realize you already have it and use it. Burkina Faso's no isn't anti-American. It's pro-dignity, pro-sovereignty. It's also a reminder that sovereignty isn't something granted, it's defended. And maybe, just maybe, this moment is the spark that shifts Africa from silence to strategy, from compliance to confidence. So, friend, what do you think? Did Burkina Faso make the right call? Drop your thoughts below. Hit like if this gave you something to think about, and share it with somebody who thinks Africa needs to seek permission. Because maybe the day Africa starts saying no is the day the world finally starts listening. So keep commenting and sharing till the next time. So, friend, what do you think?